briefly introduce myself, try to give you a flavor for the program. And then the real priority here is to turn this over to the students and to you. Everybody's going to just do a brief self-introduction, and then they'll share with you a question. You can then choose whatever is the best strategy for, picking which ones will have time to answer, or if you want to, sort of hit rewind and ask people to rephrase, that's absolutely no problem.
It's great to be here.
So I'm Jason Diet. I've split my life, about half of it in Brazil. I also lived in Mexico and Spain for a time way back when. And for 10 years, I founded and helped run the Harvard office in Brazil, this Global Ambassadors Program. We started this 5 years ago with students from UniInter, which is a higher ed institution primarily online with just over 500,000 students now. And the idea of the program was to do online mentoring for one student from each of Brazil's 5 regions so that I could get smarter about the constituents and the students and what their interests are. And it was a great experience. We ended up with 15 students as opposed to 5 the first year. That grew into groups because, a lot of the value came from students connecting with each other. And if we fast forward to now, we've had about 6,000 different candidates over those years. We have 35 students who are from Brazil, from UniInter all over the country, from Colombia, Peru, and also from Argentina this year. And the goal is to work together to build on that. So roughly a third of the students come from, I would say, career switchers into technology. More or less a third are from international relations or political science. And then the other third is a mix, a lot of strength in language teachers, foreign language teachers, but business, religion, you name it. So intentionally a very diverse group. My desire for this program is that it be a platform for international collaboration. I found that even working in an institution with the size of UniInter or with the resources of Harvard, if you try to be very focused on one particular vertical, it's tough to get the institution, different people together. With that, let me be quiet and hand it over to the students. So Otávio, let's start with you.
Hello, Luis. Thank you very much for being here today. My name is Otávio. I'm 27 years old. I'm from Brazil, Midwest Brazil, state of Mato Grosso do Sul, and I'm currently studying biomedical engineer. I have some backgrounds on physics too, and I'm very interested on AI. And my question is regarding the challenges of AI on education and bank security as well. Thank you very much.
Hello, Luis. Well, my name is William. I am currently pursuing an MBA at Pacifico Business School in Peru and lead operations at a technology integration company. And I am also developing CarCheck, an early stage initiative focused on increasing transparency in the second-hand vehicle market. So my question is, in emerging economies like Peru, how can vocational and lifelong learning systems be better aligned with the needs of industries, particularly in sectors like manufacturing and technology, so that early-stage initiatives like CarCheck can access skilled, adaptable talent to drive innovation?
I'm Julia, I'm 29. I'm a private English teacher and English student from the south of Brazil. And I'm currently launching a project to help technology professionals succeed in international job markets by preparing them for HR interviews in English. So in this context of Latin America and technology, I would like your opinion on what key skills are still lacking and should urgently develop to truly compete in the international market.
I'm Camilo Cardona. I'm 20 years old. I'm a political science student from the National University of Colombia. My interests are in the international relationships and peace and war studies. And my family was a victim of the armed conflict. And it was through education that they were able to access life-changing opportunities. How do you think education can help developing countries affected by war find a better future?
My name is Maria. I am 23 years old and I am an IT student. And here's my question. After working with so many education systems globally, what's one lesson you've learned that you wish every policymaker or teacher knew?
My name is Ana Beatriz. I'm 22 years old. I'm an international relations student at UniInter in Brazil. And my question is, in your opinion, what are the benefits and obstacles AI is bringing to both students and teachers in education?
My name is Ivana Alejandra Morales Peñalosa. I'm 20 years old. I'm from Peru. I'm a student of international relations in UPC. I'm currently working on civic engagement and cultural promotion in the Latin America region. In that way, my question is about what responsibilities do higher education institutions hold in fostering democratic principles and equipping students to engage in international policies process? Thank you.
My name is Carol. I am international relations student at Uninter. I currently work at the Vital Source Technologies. It's a company that offers digital solutions for students and institutions. And having this eagerness to the educational sector, my question is, what are the biggest challenges you see in aligning educational systems with current labor market demands, especially in Latin America? Thank you.
I'm Julia Soares. I'm 21 years old. I'm from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I work as a pedagogical coordinator at an English school in Brazil, and I'm also studying English language at Uninter. And I'm currently developing some didactic materials for advanced English learners using the United Nations SDGs as a framework. And given that some topics, such as gender equality, can be considered politically sensitive in Brazil and in other countries as well, what strategies would you recommend for addressing these issues in the classroom in a respectful and balanced way?
I'm 22 years old. I'm studying political science and international relations at Pontificia Universidad Javeriana in Bogota, Colombia. My question is, how does the WAC incorporate equity and inclusion as core elements of its education projects?
My name is Pablo Mercado. I'm an industrial engineer from Peru, currently based in Seattle. After some time in Boston, where I'm conducting research and developing a fintech project focused on improving financial inclusion for young and small entrepreneurs in Latin America, especially in Peru and in general Latin America. My question is, from your experience in education, financing, and reducing inequality, have you ever seen concrete examples in the region where collaboration between the education sector and innovative financial solutions like fintech or insurtech has significantly improved education access or equity?
I'm Sofia. I'm 22 years old, and I'm studying international relations at Rosario University in Bogota, Colombia. I wanted to know which is an effective way to incentivize students to be leaders and to be politically involved in the current time.
I'm Flavio, 30 years old. I am a Brazilian mechatronics technician with 8 years of experience, 2 of which in Canada. And now I'm studying IT systems at Uninter. So my question is, considering that we are witnessing the end of globalization as we know it, what are the possible major shifts in short and medium term for international education systems, research collaboration, and international standards?
Luis, we're so thankful for you being here. I hope that it was helpful to get a little bit of background on the program and to hear directly from all of the participants. And with that, would turn it over to you. Please pick and choose how you would like to address this. But we have a great deal of interest in your experience, and you've heard a number of questions. So please do your best with the time that we have, and feel free to call on me or us as appropriate.
Sure. Thank you very much. It's great to be here. It's great to meet you all. A very impressive group of fellows. And how many days do we have to answer all of these questions? So let me take a stab. And maybe I'll start with AI. I think this is a topic that it's high in everybody's mind. Obviously, there's a incredible opportunity to leverage the power of AI, and at the same time, it's a significant challenge. And so let me explain a little bit why. I think that how many of you have used AI? If you can just quickly raise your hand. I mean, most of you. So clearly, this is a tool that is, readily available for a group of people, and that it has incredible power, both to analyze data, synthesize data, generate content, a wide variety of applications, and this is only the beginning. It will continue to get better. It will continue to get more effective. It will continue to spread. I've seen a few articles demonstrating how AI has been one of the most rapidly spreading, and the take-up that AI has had is considerably much faster than for example, the spread of the internet when it first came about. So it speaks to its power, and it also speaks to sort of the ways in which people are finding novel ways to apply this tool to whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's writing, researching, coding, whatever it might be. Now, with that, I think that education systems are trying to get their heads around how to channel AI. And so we're beginning to see, for example, interesting applications, of how to use AI in education. Like for example, recently was in India where I saw, sort of a tool that was developed to sort of, being able to record children reading, and using AI, for example, to being able to identify in what types of sounds or syllables or letters kids have trouble recognizing, and then sort of being able to provide specific exercises tailored to that child to being able to practice those skills, and then again sort of being able to then sort of scaffold so the difficulty of a text so as to promote the most efficient sort of and quickest way of learning and gaining fluency in reading. And all of that, this is a way of customizing and being able to use technology to adapt to where a child is at. Very difficult to achieve, to attune for a teacher. And so again, that is like one specific example of how AI can be used to sort of support student learning. At the same time, a teacher can, has this tool that they can apply to every child in a classroom. So again, very quickly, a teacher can see, a synthesis of in what types of areas children have difficulty, being able to attune lesson planning, to attune instructional approaches to those particular difficulties that most kids have, and at the same time, being able to either provide exercises support for kids who are advanced, or provide special attention to those that are lagging behind. All of this, again, the type of customization that AI is enabling for a teacher in a classroom is pretty remarkable. Now, challenges. First and foremost, again, not everybody has access to AI. Internet penetration, the availability of tablets or laptops is not universal, far from universal, and in fact, in that sense, AI does have the potential to increase inequality. Secondly, I think that AI can be a great tool to enhance people's productivity, but at the same time, if not used properly, it can be a way to shortcut practice and learning. Again, I think that all of you must be well aware of examples where people use AI to really cut corners. So instead of being an enabler or a potentiator, AI can actually become a crutch that does stand in the way from people developing critical thinking skills, writing skills, research skills that allow you to be fungible, allow you to build over other types of more advanced skills. And so let me make an analogy. When the calculator was invented, it did not replace people's need and importance to learn basic math, basic arithmetic. So, a calculator allows you to do much more complex arithmetics, for example, much faster. But in the absence of having those basic skills and practice, again, it would stand in the way of really acquiring advanced reasoning or mathematical skills. And so that's a clear challenge that education systems have of how to, again, support students to leverage technology to enhance their productivity, to enhance their skills, and not as a means to replace the learning process that is necessary. And that both requires training for teachers on how to, again, leverage technology, and then at the same time on how to create sort of a classroom environment where students are encouraged to draw from these technologies because they're important. It's important for them to being able to use them, but then at the same time not to shortcut the learning itself. So maybe I'll just pause there on AI since we don't have a lot of time, and you pose so many good questions. Let me just perhaps pick next one on skills training and how to better align with industry, how to sort of encourage competition, how to sort of enable sort of better alignment between what schools and training institutions prepare kids for and the needs of the labor market. And so, again, so this is a really important area where while education systems have looked for that alignment and attunement to labor markets and private sector needs, there hasn't been a lot of particularly successful stories, perhaps, and there's a lot of room for growth. And so maybe I'll tie it to the AI conversation. First and foremost, it's really critical that schools and training institutions prepare every child, every student with those foundational critical skills that are transferable, and that enable sort of greater skilling, upskilling, reskilling. And so basic numeracy, basic literacy, the kinds of social emotional skills that relate to communications, that relate to problem solving, that relate to sort of executive functioning. These are all really sort of critical foundational skills that will then sort of allow you to sort of acquire further skills to like in particular in a world where jobs are rapidly changing, where the skills that are demanded are rapidly shifting. There are recent studies, for example, show that sort of 50 years ago, that sort of a young person that went into the labor market most likely had 1 or 2 jobs over their lifetime. At present, it's expected that a person that goes into the labor market will change at least 8 to 14 times their line of business. And that, as you change from one job to another, it requires for you to apply or to acquire new sets of skills. So again, the ability to sort of, continuously sort of increase your learning, to engage in a lifelong learning journey is becoming increasingly important. And in the absence of those foundational skills, it's very difficult to do. And then sort of on top of those skills, you need to acquire sort of those more technical, more job-specific types of skills. And therefore, you need specialized training. I think that sort of, we see with the advent of MOOCs and online learning, with, for example, micro-credentialing, these are all been sort of fairly recent innovations that sort of have, again, expanded the traditional offers out there for people to acquire new skills. And at the same time, sort of on-the-job training for private sector firms, sort of being able to acquire new skills on the job, again, have become increasingly important. How to think about education systems where sort of the acquisition of those new skills, like as you go, in life, and then being able to carry sort of some type of credentialing, some type of recognition of prior learning over the course of your lifetime, again, is becoming increasingly important because how to demonstrate in a way so that skills have specific application and specific value. Again, it's an area of development in education systems that is becoming increasingly salient. So again, to engage and to invest in their training. I'll touch on very briefly on how do education systems need to adapt both to promote, for example, greater civic participation, or also how to promote greater equity. We know from research that education is truly an enabler of a wide variety of development outcomes that we want to see, including, for example, civic values, climate-friendly values, democratic values. Education is linked to sort of greater political participation. Is linked to greater voice and agency, for example, in the fight against gender-based violence, in the sort of a challenging of, for example, binding social norms. Education truly sort of expands our own ability to engage with the world out there, and that both sort of poses a challenge in that sort of while the potential is there, at the same time sort of education systems can be used to replicate the political status quo or a particular set of ideology. We have to be very bring a lot of intentionality as to sort of in what ways education systems can both sort of break new ground, while at the same time sort of also have the potential to replicate sort of all binding systems. And there, sort of again, sort of the promotion of sort of those social emotional skills that relate to sort of problem solving, communication, critical thinking are really sort of the channel by which a lot of the potential of education is realized. Since we just have a few more minutes left, on the equity side, I want to point you to sort of a serious set of recent studies that here at the World Bank we've helped conduct. And so in what ways, for example, fintech can be used as a means to sort of support families to help both channel either remittances or contributions from extended family members or communities in sort of supporting children in being able to access and ease the cost burn of education. So there's a wide variety of channels by which sort of education can draw from to really support the expansion of access and to making sort of education access greater equitable. Similarly, for example, the utilization of technology to being able to identify or to facilitate learning by children with disabilities, both cognitive and physical, by being able to use better targeting for children who might come from disadvantaged backgrounds, how to sort of again break social norms that, for example, sort of are not conducive for girls or young women to channel their skills and potential towards, for example, STEM careers or math and science. And let me pause there and use the few minutes that were left for any particular follow-up or anything that you would like to explore further.
One question that I have, which I think applies, is that the challenge between scale and individual development of the skills that you talked about. How do we do the individualized, interactive type conversation we're having now, and how can we scale that? So I'm curious if you have any thoughts on that, because you're obviously at the World Bank and have spent a career on education. What are your thoughts on challenges of getting to scale with the tension of inspiring people to keep going?
You're absolutely right. So the name of the game is to achieve scale. And this is what we do at the World Bank. Essentially, sort of, we work with governments to implement programs that will affect millions of people. And it's oftentimes moving from a pilot or from an idea to a scalable program is not easy. And so being able to pay attention to the science of implementation has become an increasing priority for us in a way. So again, so to being able to look at where the breaks in the chain are that oftentimes stand in the way for sort of having cost-effective or cost-efficient, scalable programs that make a difference to large segments of the population. Implementation fidelity is really hard to achieve. We might know, for example, we know the science of reading. We know how children learn how to read. But again, being able to put into place from an A to Z program that sort of, supports a child and then sort of responds to the particularities of that child in their ability to learn how to read is not necessarily easy to accomplish. And I think that sort of, again, the greater the attention that we put on sort of being able sort of to, again, stick to sort of what we know about what works, and then ultimately sort of create behavioral routines that sort of facilitate the application of those principles is really sort of a big task. But I think there are lots of really good examples as to sort of, how that can be done and can be done well and effectively.
Thank you so much, Luis. I know that you somehow managed to find time. And one of the things that we work on with critical reasoning and just outreach is, how do you reach out to somebody that's not yet in your network and you don't know? And we're just very thankful that you accepted the invitation to speak with us. And I think if there's anything that I can do to be helpful, or that we can do to sort of forward what you're working on, please feel free to do what we did, which was to reach out and just ask. So thank you for saying yes. Thank you for being here. Thanks, everybody, for preparing great questions.
It was great to meet you all, and wish you best of luck in all of these really exciting endeavors that you are undertaking.